Earlier, some time ago, I think it's been a couple of months now, Governor Rick Snyder signed legislation to raise the state's minimum wage by 25% gradually over the next 4 years to 9.25 an hour. And now the rate starts at 8.15 on September 1st, and then 8.50 on January 1st, 2016, and then 8.90 on January 1st the following year. So we'll have that gradual rate. Wanted to learn more about this and how we could see some growth with a higher minimum wage. Dusty Staub is a workplace culture expert for 1320 WILS and Fox News Radio, and he joins us on the McLaren Health Plan phone line. Dusty, how are you?
I'm fine, Tony. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. There was a huge fight over the minimum wage here, but it was raised here in Michigan. And I know there's a new study out that says states that raised the minimum wage had stronger job growth. Tell us about that, Dusty.
Right. Well, that study is still preliminary, and you haven't had a lot of time. But what that study shows is that those states that raised the minimum wage, they've had more economic activity, they've had more growth in employment, and they are doing better than the states that have yet to do that.
Are you buying it?
No, it goes against conventional wisdom, but the thing I found out over the years, Tony, is conventional wisdom is quite often wrong. Well, think about this. Henry Ford in 1914, in spite of people thinking he was crazy, other business leaders, more than doubled what he was paying his factory workers. He more than doubled it. I think it was $2.36. Took it up to $5 an hour back in 1914, and his business thrived. Because one of the funny things was, with more discretionary money, the people building his cars could actually go out and buy them. And it really revived the economy, and other car makers had to catch up. Today, you've got Starbucks, you've got Howard Schultz at Starbucks, the CEO, and they provide benefits to part-timers, which is unheard of almost in that industry. And they are thriving and doing well. So it may be that when you actually raise it, because what happens, people who are at minimum wage tend to spend all that extra money. They have to. It revives and builds the economy. That may very well be true.
But you believe we still need more evidence to support that?
Yeah, I'd like a little bit more evidence, and so we've got a laboratory going on. We're going to see those states and those municipalities that have raised their rates versus those that haven't. It'll be very interesting to see where everybody is about 12, 18 months from now. That'll tell us a lot more.
Dusty, how much more productive are workers, are companies, when employees are happy, when they're making more money, when they have more benefits?
I do a lot of work on cultural transformation with organizations, and here's what the data shows. And Gallup has showed this with over 2,000 organizations. Organizations that have higher levels of employee engagement are consistently more profitable and consistently more robust and resilient than organizations that don't. So anything that makes my employees more satisfied, happier, more effective, translates into action to the very people that I'm working with. You just had a commercial on that talked about a company that provides services, and it was the quality of the employees. And I'll date myself. Back in high school, I was working at Burger King for $1 an hour, and then a friend told me McDonald's was paying $1.40. Well, I went over to McDonald's, and they hired me, and all the very best workers went there. And it turns out Burger King had to raise their rate. So I think you get what you pay for in life ultimately, and I think that it may be true, but I can't say for sure yet, that if you actually raise the minimum wage, you're actually helping lift the whole economy.
Why are some business owners resistant against this and still kind of caught up in the dictator way to do business in the old school way?
Well, because it's the difference between what economists would call concrete cost versus opportunity cost. What happens concrete cost? I can see what my payroll is costing me. I can see what it would cost me if I had to raise it and pay this much more. But what they're not taking into account is what's the opportunity this could open up for me? What could happen for me and my business if there was a more robust economy around here? And so when you look at the short term versus long term, it goes to the old English phrase, a penny wise but a pound foolish.
What happens to businesses that resist engaging their employees, allowing their employees to take more of a leadership role, a growth role in their company?
That's a great question. I will tell you that they fall behind. The only real difference between a high-performance organization and an organization that's an also-ran is the quality of the teamwork, and that's the quality of engagement and how people cooperate, collaborate, and communicate with each other. And so, do I empower them? Do they feel valued? Do they feel that we are looking out for them? Do we walk the talk about showing respect for our employees just like we do for our customers? Those organizations that have higher levels of engagement are consistently more profitable and more effective. And so I think that if you want to be an also-ran, just follow conventional wisdom. If you want to step out there, well, you might want to look at Howard Schultz and Henry Ford and some of the things going on that would say the more engaged my employees are, the more valued they feel, the greater value I'm going to get in my business.
Do you see more states raising their minimum wage?
I think it's going to be inevitable. I think it will happen, and I think more municipalities will. And I think that it's like a big experimental lab. We're going to find out over time what really works here. So we'll find out. I have a gut hunch that it's actually going to help things, but I can't say for sure until we have a little bit more time on the calendar.
We've been talking with Dusty Staub, who's a workplace culture expert for 1320 WILS and Fox News Radio. Dusty, thanks so much.
My pleasure, Tony.